Welcome to the introductory video for Vampire the Masquerade Rivals expandable card game from Renegade Games Studios, where you will learn the fundamentals of playing this game. In Vampire the Masquerade Rivals expandable card game, 2 to 4 players will build a coterie of vampires under a leader in an eternal battle to dominate the city of San Francisco. Using murderous conspiracies, charming influence, and enthralled mortals, vampires will duke it out on the streets and in protective havens, vying to undermine their enemies. If a player successfully defeats their rival or earns 13 agenda points, they will win the game to reign victorious over the city. Setup begins with the city deck. Separate the 10 event cards from the deck and randomly remove 4 from the game without looking at them. Add the remaining 6 event cards back to the city deck and shuffle them together. Place this 23-card city deck within reach of all players. Next, each player takes 20 prestige tokens of a single color, which will be their color for the game. Place the remaining prestige tokens in a general supply, along with the agenda and no influence tokens. Each player now selects a clan to play for the game. The core set features 4 clans: Brujah, Toreador, Ventrue, and Malkavian. Players take the cards for their clan, which include a 40-card main deck, 7 vampire cards known as a faction deck, 1 Haven card, and 1 Agenda card. Players set their Haven and Agenda cards in front of their play area. They then take a single vampire card from their faction deck and also place it in their play area. For your first game, we recommend the vampire with the highest blood potency value located in the upper left of the card. This starting vampire is known as the player's leader. Place a leader token on the selected vampire. Finally, assign the vampire a number of blood tokens equal to their blood potency value. Blood tokens are the reverse side of the prestige tokens and come from the player's personal supply. These also act as health points. If a vampire loses all of them, they are sent to torpor to mend slowly over time and will eventually return. Each player will be assigned a rival. In a 2-player game, the 2 players are each other's rivals. In 3 or 4-player games, use the rival tokens to randomly assign rivals. Determine a first player who will take the first player token. After the first playing, turn order proceeds clockwise. Each player shuffles their 40-card main deck and places it next to their agenda card. They then shuffle the remaining 6 vampires and set them face down next to the main deck to form the faction deck. All players draw 4 cards from their main deck to form their starting hand. The first player draws 1 card from their faction deck to add to their hand. Every other player draws 2 cards from the faction deck. Now that players have their starting hands, the game begins. Gameplay occurs in turns starting with the first player and proceeding clockwise. Each turn is divided into 3 phases: beginning phase, action phase, and end phase. First, in the beginning phase, the active player draws a card from the city deck and places it onto the central playing area of the table, known as the streets. If you have the first player token and this is the first turn of the game, instead, place a number of city deck cards in the streets equal to the number of players. The city deck contains mortal cards for feasting, event cards to overcome, and antagonistic actions from the Special Affairs Division. Some event cards have an ongoing label. If the active player draws and places such a card, put a prestige token of their color from the general supply on that card. It will be in effect until their next beginning phase, when the token is removed and the event discarded before drawing the next city card. Any start of turn effects resolve at this time as well. Throughout the game, players will exhaust their cards, rotating them sideways for an effect. To complete their beginning phase, the active player readies their cards by rotating them back to their original alignment and returns all their vampires in the streets to their haven. Next, in the action phase, the active player may perform 2 actions. They may choose to take the same action twice. Actions include draw 1 card, recruit a vampire, claim the Prince of the City title, play an action card, and make an attack. Some vampire cards may have action abilities, which will take one of the 2 actions for the turn if used. Additionally, during their action phase, the active player may move their vampires from their haven to the streets. Vampires a player controls are known as a coterie. Vampires can also be arranged into parties, which allow them to assist each other in combat. If a vampire becomes exhausted, the party will need to reform without them to take an attack action. Members of your coterie can only be moved into the streets at this point. they'll return to the Haven at the player's next beginning phase. Next, in the end phase, the active player resolves a number of steps in the following order. First, any vampires who have been defeated are considered in torpor, or knocked out. They each mend by 1 blood token from the general supply. The active player may then choose any number of damaged vampires they control, discarding 1 card per vampire to place a blood token from the general supply onto the vampire. If a vampire in torpor regains blood tokens equal to their blood potency, they become readied and return to play in the Haven. Any end-of-turn effects then resolve, including any Special Affairs Division cards which can deal aggravated damage to vampires. Aggravated damage is not reduced by a vampire's stats and removes blood like normal damage. But if a vampire is defeated by aggravated damage, they're burned and removed from the game rather than sinking into torpor. Finally, the active player draws 2 cards in any combination from either their main deck or faction deck. Play proceeds clockwise to the next player. Players have many options when choosing their actions. They are: the Draw a Card action allows a player to draw a single card from either their main deck or faction deck. The Recruit a Vampire action allows the active player to play a vampire from their hand into their haven, assigning a number of their prestige tokens to the vampire on their blood side based on the blood potency. Vampires need not match the clan type of their leader. In future games, you may customize your deck to include any mix of clans you wish. The Claim the Prince of the City title action allows a player to exhaust one of their vampires located on the streets to attempt to claim the title once it has been revealed from the city deck. Most titles come from action cards and can be assigned to vampires using their influence. This special title instead requires a claim and allows opponents to challenge. In turn order, the other players may exhaust one of their vampires to activate an attack action against the claimant. The player who holds their rival token can even play an attack card. If the claimant survives, they gain the title, which nets them 1 prestige and 1 agenda at the start of their turn. A powerful title, if they can keep it. The Play an Action card action may require the player to exhaust 1 vampire in their coterie, depending on the card. If it's labeled unhosted, the card doesn't require a vampire to become exhausted. Action cards contain some of the most dynamic options in Vampire. Some examples include Schemes, which require players to use their vampire's influence to choose a side on a proposal. Titles, which can provide vampires with new abilities. Or Conspiracies, which allow the player to recruit select opponents to join in on a secret ability. Conspiracies require prestige, but they can create dramatic effects on the streets of San Francisco. The attack action allows a player to exhaust one of their active vampires on the streets. That vampire becomes the attacker, and the player names an opponent's vampire to become the defender. To resolve an attack, players will reference the vampire cards involved in the attack. Information on the card includes name and clan icon, blood potency, their power level and starting blood points. No vampire may use a card or ability that exceeds their blood potency. Stats, including physical, social, and mental. Each of these stats provide a damage value and a defense value, which are the same. These inflict damage when attacking and mitigate damage when defending. Disciplines, which unlock benefits with certain attack and action cards containing that same symbol. Game text, which grants various abilities. Some abilities require payment to use while others are always active. The combat system has a few steps but follows a straightforward process. Declare an attack, ranged, physical, social, or mental, then optionally play an attack card of that type face down. The defenders might be able to play a reaction card and/or jump in to block for the defender. The game ends once one of 2 victory conditions are met. Reach 13 agenda to claim dominance over the city. Agenda cards contain unique objectives, rewarding their owner with a set amount of agenda points each time they complete it. Some other game effects award agenda as well, adding to the possible total to win. Or eliminate your rival to achieve victory. A player is eliminated if they are reduced to 0 prestige, or if all of the vampires in their coterie are in torpor or removed from the game. There are more nuances to playing Vampire the Masquerade Rivals expandable card game, but these basics will get you started on your path to dominance. The core set contains a crypt pack to customize your own decks, and the rulebook offers additional ways to mix vampires from various clans, select unique agendas or havens, and more.